Shore to Shore provided us the opportunity to create an international conference, to be able to come and to think in a detailed way about island life. These very, very interesting and important places that have really not been given attention.
It's hard to call it really a conference because it's been such a collaborative effort that it's not what people I think traditionally would think of as a conference. It's been a workshop, a dialogue.
At the end of this conference, as I started to reflect on it, it seemed to me that it was a wonderful example of interdisciplinarity, and that there are many aspects of this study of culture that can only be properly carried out by engaging with other disciplines.
Islands are misunderstood, I think, by a lot of scholars nowadays. We think of islands as insular and cut off, and maybe behind the times, but we don't realize that in the past, islands were places of mobility and connectivity.
But this was a special conference in that there was a good deal of walking involved. Boots rather than books were the essential element.
One of the big things we wanted to do was to be able to immerse people in the context of Western Ireland.
We spent a couple days on the islands of Inisbofin and Inishark, and we got to know each other, hiking around, sharing conversations about history, and then we came over to Kylemore where we had a more conventional workshop conference.
It obviously gave us a very strong sense of place, quite literally, and it allowed us to see the ways in which the islanders navigate the space that they're in and how they utilize it, the ways in which they read the sky, read the sea, and it's almost like instinctual.
The storytelling, of course, is another source of evidence, if you like, and I think that you can't dismiss local knowledge.
We think of story time as what kids have before they go to bed, but actually, in most societies, these stories are prompted by events. They come ad hoc. They're reflections on something that's just happened that positions the present in relation to the past or deeper history of experience.
Islands occupy a special place in Irish history, in Irish national life, if you like.
Islands are such unique places. There's this quote that I think maybe Audrey has used in one of her previous publications, which is that the sea divides as well as unites. Islands, as we've talked about them in my example of studies, are very close-knit community places. And so when people leave, it fundamentally changes the fabric of how that community operates.
4 generations of my family have immigrated, and 3 of those have returned to the island. So I had a very interesting kind of diaspora story to tell.
We hope to expand our research, to use some of the conversations that have emerged as a jumping off point, and to think in terms of how can we connect with local communities further, and to think in terms of how can we help tell their stories.